This is kyw-tv, Philadelphia. This is the news tonight with Jennifer Ward and Bruce Hamilton, David Rogers weather, and Yuki Washington on sports. And now, the news tonight.
Good evening, I'm Bruce Hamilton.
And I'm Jennifer Ward. Our top story tonight, a rising death toll and scattered arson and looting continue in parts of Los Angeles tonight. This is the second night of rioting in the wake of a not guilty verdict in the police beating trial. The south central part of the city looked like the burning Kuwaiti oil fields just before the riot zone went under a dusk to dawn curfew. There are far fewer blazes than earlier, but looting is spreading to historic Hollywood Boulevard and Santa Monica. The devastation from fires is staggering within the riot zone. Thousands of businesses and schools were closed today throughout the city, and bus service was canceled to most of L.A. And several hours ago, thousands of California National Guard troops began deploying in the riot zone. 2,000 troops arrived in the city late today, and the mayor says more than half of them should be on the street and in position by midnight. In addition, 1,000 California Highway Patrol officers also are helping exhausted LA police patrol the streets.
The LA riots claim a number of casualties. Now, here are the latest figures available. You'll notice on your screen, since last night when the violence began, at least 15, it says, died. We've just updated that number. Now at least 18 deaths. Another 450 people have been injured, more than 300 arrested. By this afternoon, firefighters responded to more than 1,000 alarms. This one incident shows how this violence takes on graphically brutal proportions. This truck driver was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. An angry mob pulled him to the street, kicked him, punched him, then hurled a fire extinguisher at him. Beside these street beatings, some of the injured were caught in the crossfire during gun battles between police and snipers. Adding to the mayhem, looters continue running rampant. People jam parking lots loaded with armfuls of merchandise. Police have been virtually unable to stop them. Shelves have been nearly cleaned out, and looters have left the stores in shambles.
As for the looters, many feel somehow that they're justified in what they're doing. A Los Angeles TV reporter was on the scene as looters left one store.
Hey, why are you doing this?
Because I feel that everything is taxed anyway, everything is free. Why not take it? You know, no justice, no peace. If they're going to do King like this, they're going to do
Why did he get off? Why did they get off?
What does this accomplish?
Hey, justice. Why did we get beat? Why we had to get beat and we can't, you know, it's no fair.
At last report, looting had even spread tonight to stores near the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Since the verdict in the LA police brutality case was announced yesterday, many people have asked the same question. How could jurors acquit the defendants after seeing the videotape of police beating Rodney King? On NBC's Today Show, Bryant Gumbel asked that question of an unidentified member of the jury.
It clearly showed what was going on there. The fact that Rodney King was not being abused. Rodney King was directing the action. He was the one that determined how long it took to put him in handcuffs. Because as long as he fought, the policeman had to continue to try to maintain him. He did not lose control.
You don't think he ever lost control of the action?
He never lost control. The only time the action stopped was when he finally submitted to arrest.
Both the prosecution and defense lawyers picked the jury that was made up of 10 whites, 1 Hispanic, and 1 Asian.
The verdict in the police brutality case prompted numerous protests across the nation. Nearly all the demonstrations were peaceful, the exception, Atlanta. An angry crowd turned over a police car. Young African Americans attacked whites downtown. Car windows were smashed, bus service suspended. Meantime, in San Francisco, police arrested students from the University of California at Berkeley who formed a human barricade, a human chain, and literally stopped traffic on the San Francisco Bay Bridge all day long.
Here in Philadelphia, a rally is taking place on the University of Pennsylvania campus. The crowd is large, made up of mostly students, and it is peaceful at this point, but it is blocking traffic on Walnut Street in West Philadelphia. KYW3's Joyce Evans reports the crowd is showing their anger at the verdict in the LA beating trial.
Our family fought and fought for us to have civil rights, and look what this government is doing to us today. We're back in the 50s now. Wake up, we can't be calm no more.
Tempers flaring at the University of Pennsylvania tonight as Congressman Lucian Blackwell offers support and urges calm in the wake of the L.A. verdict.
We do not need violence right now. We need intelligence.
But he wasn't saying what many of these 200 or more students wanted to hear. Racial tensions between black and white students and campus police and black students have gripped the University of Pennsylvania for years. Now students say it has to stop. But is talking it out the solution?
I think it's a first step. I think that we need to recognize the anger. I think we need to look where the anger is coming from, what are the roots, and I think talking is one of the things that we can do.
Local psychiatrist Howard Dichter says everyone, blacks, whites, politicians, and corporate America, must come together to restore peace and improve race relations. But local attorney Charles Bowser thinks the damage is too deep and the nation may be headed for more trouble.
The people who are involved in this are so far outside of American society. They don't hear me or Jesse Jackson or anyone else.
As deputy mayor of Philadelphia in the turbulent 60s, Bowser helped keep calm in the black community. But he says these are different times. The law and the government are much more insensitive. And today's statement from President Bush to look into civil rights violations in the case is not enough.
Legally, I really don't see any viable recourse. I think all this business about the Justice Department is just a smokescreen.
Reagan and Bush are not God. Well, I believe that God is, we have come this far. I remember when blacks could not come on this campus. They're here today.
The students say they can no longer wait for the government, vowing they will do whatever it takes to get justice. Joyce Evans, The News Tonight.
One more related story here. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Willie Williams is going to L.A. to help deal with the crisis. He says right now he doesn't have any special plan, blueprint for healing the strife in that community, but he's confident the situation can be turned around.
I don't have any special plan A or plan B. Community policing really means going into a city and customizing the programs to meet that city. I think once you open the doors and you talk, the people and the officers will come up with the plans.
Point of information here, Williams officially takes over as chief of the LAPD sometime in June.
In the world tonight, racial tensions in many foreign countries have Europeans paying close attention to the situation in LA. Reaction to the riots is coming from all corners of the globe. Through the technology of television, the horror in LA is broadcast a world away. In addition to the BBC, bulletins were also broadcast on French TV. News of the rioting also dominated Japanese television.
Other news in the nation tonight. A school field trip to Chicago's O'Hare Airport turns into a tragic visit. A car plowed into dozens of young children. The third graders just stepped off two school buses when an 87-year-old man hit the gas pedal instead of the brake. The car careened into a crowd of kids. A 9-year-old girl is dead, 88 people injured, at least 6 critically. Authorities in North Jersey continue searching for a missing Exxon company executive. The president of Exxon International, Sidney Riso, literally vanished from his own driveway yesterday morning. Police continue to search for clues around his Morris Township estate. Investigators suspect foul play.
Tonight, America said farewell to the Cosby Show. For 8 years, the Huxtables have been welcome guests in millions of living rooms. But KYW3's Kim Adams reports this glimpse into African-American family life did more than just entertain.
Behind the scenes on the set of the last taping of The Cosby Show. For the past 8 years, millions have watched the progression of this upper-class African-American family, the Huxtables.
I met African Americans who said they didn't know anybody like the Huxtables. And so I said to them, well, you ought to get out more often.
But according to a study, by featuring a wealthy black family, The Cosby Show has desensitized whites to the problems of other blacks. The study was funded by Bill Cosby.
I don't think whites were desensitized by virtue of it.
Temple history professor Dr. Molefe Asante believes that if some whites are in fact desensitized by The Cosby Show, then he says there's also a white audience that has become more educated about African Americans after watching it.
According to studies that have been done, African Americans would be more likely to accept the reality of the television show than whites.
But to Dr. Rowena Stewart, director of Philadelphia's Afro-American Museum, The Cosby Show may not be real, but it's inspiring. She says it's helped to shape the value system of many African Americans and has inspired many to become doctors and lawyers.
Bill has done so much for family understanding and family love family tradition that it's nice if somebody decides to follow me. And isn't that what all of us want to do, though?
Kim Adams, the news tonight.
Great show. It's time for First Weather with David Rogers. The sky was looking very ominous right around 5 or 6 o'clock, but it didn't amount to much.
No, some scattered showers across the Delaware Valley. A lot of that is starting to dissipate, and it's going to be moving out. That means we should see the return of partly sunny sky on tap for the last working day of the week. Let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow morning. Heading out to work or school, partly sunny sky, 46 to 50 degrees. Very comfortable start to the day. Then by afternoon time, temperatures get up to about 64. Afternoon highs could get up to 69 degrees tomorrow as the first day of the month gets off to a grand start. Heading home tomorrow night, partly sunny, 64 to 68 degrees. We'll take a look into the future and let you know how long the good stuff is going to hang around. Bruce.
He can come back.
Why not?
First weather to first sports. Phil's have an unscheduled night off tonight. How you?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's being affected. Due to the unrest in Los Angeles, tonight's game between the Phillies and the Dodgers was postponed. Although most of the violence is taking place in the south central section of L.A., there were a few incidents near the ballpark, which is several miles away from the concentrated area. The game was postponed. The same for horse racing events in the L.A. area and tonight's Jazz-Clippers NBA playoff game. Back to the Phillies for a moment. We tried to contact skipper Jim Fregosi not long ago in San Francisco. The team had not yet reached their hotel. They were being delayed, according to a hotel spokesperson, possibly due to protesting over yesterday's verdict, protesting near the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. But they do expect the team to arrive shortly, and other teams did play tonight. We'll have that for you later.
Good. Thanks, Yuki. And there's much more to come on the news tonight.
When we come back, we'll look at the key issues that led to the L.A. riots. It was more than the verdict in a police brutality trial that sparked the outbreak of destruction. We'll hear from local experts on the roots of the race riots. But first, why don't we go ahead and check out some lottery numbers? Maybe a winner's in there for you.
If you play, good luck. We'll be right back.
There's a killer stalking your kids, and it might be hiding where your child goes to school. But many young people at risk don't believe it. How can you keep your kids from getting AIDS? Watch Inside Edition.
Tomorrow at 5:30.
I'm Marge Palla. On the next Square Off, 56 blows in 81 seconds. We all saw it, but a jury says seeing is not believing.
It's an outrage, a classic case of racist justice.
But that's no reason to loot, burn, and kill.
Join us Saturday at 7.
And now Biz is here. It's the grand opening of Philadelphia's first Biz Mart. Save on this Macintosh LC2 440 personal computer and everything from PCs to paper clips. For office productivity, Biz is how business is done today. Biz Mart is Biz Mart.
A luxury car says a lot about its owner.
Mine says I'm witty beyond belief.
Mine says I'm more Europeanish.
Mine says I'm the product of superior genes.
A luxury car says
I'm so successful I can go into debt.
I'm much more handsome. Cosmopolitan.
Another pathetic sheep following the herd.
Says a lot. I'm irresistible.
Powerful.
Stylish. Sexy.
Dynamic.
The all-wheel drive Subaru Legacy. All it says is that you bought a great car and you can still pay your mortgage.
Memories of laughter, having fun and feeling free. All the good times that we shared keep coming back to me. Together we could touch the sky, climb a mountain, sail the sea. We'll laugh and sing, we'll do it all. Together we'll make memories.
Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
Together we'll make memories.
What do you give the guy who has everything?
I'm happy.
Parents.
We don't want to be a burden. We'll sleep in the car.
For laughs. For tears.
You're lucky there was a family member with you when it happened who could sign the consent forms.
Forever.
I love you, Dad.
Tom Selleck, Don Amici, folks, from the creators of Weekend at Bernie's.
I'm happy.
Rated PG-13.
Starts tomorrow. Consult your local newspaper for showtimes.
You have to ask yourself what led people in L.A. to take to the streets, loot stores, burn buildings, and attack total strangers. Was it simply the not guilty verdict in the police brutality trial? That's the issue tonight. race riots. KYW3's Walt Hunter reports they don't just ignite spontaneously.
Images of violence following the verdict in the Rodney King case. The anger, sudden and terrible. But how was it that this beating led to this? The facts are, the forces that led to the violence had been building for years, quietly. A growing undercurrent of racial tension.
Many believe that just below the surface, the social foundation of our country has been cracking and pulling apart for more than a decade. The gulf between black and white, rich and poor, growing ever wider. And that's the issue tonight. Knowing these facts, can anyone really be surprised by what's happening in Los Angeles?
It's hopelessness, and it's here, and it's real.
Jewel Williams says with federal funds to every major urban program cut by more than a third over the past decade, despair has slowly been turning to anger.
No employment, abandoned houses, unjust verdicts, and it's just brewing. It's like a volcano about to erupt.
Rodney King's beating, many believe, is a videotaped symbol of race relations that hit all-time lows in the 80s all over the country.
I think it's both a symptom of a widening gulf between white and black and rich and poor. And I also think it's going to be a factor increasing that gulf, widening that gulf further.
Dr. Howard Winant, professor of race relations at Temple University, calls the riots an act of despair, a violent, visible sign of the direction this country's been heading for years.
So the gulf widens a little bit more, and people feel, I can't get justice any other way, I'm going to take it in my own hands.
The last time LA was scorched was in the 60s, when the peaceful civil rights movement turned violent. Slowly, conditions have been worsening in our country over the 70s and 80s, and now the verdict may be the spark that ignites the anger.
This is really a symptom of a society that has some very severe problems.
History professor Ted Hirschberg sees the violence as a terrible reminder of how little has improved since the 60s for those who are trying to grow and survive in urban communities.
The conditions in the inner city are unprecedented in the history of the United States. No other group of immigrants, no white immigrants or earlier generations of black Americans have faced the extraordinary difficulties that inner city blacks and Hispanics now face. And until we come to grips with this, this society is perched in a very dangerous place.
Like the hidden pressures that lead to an earthquake, the forces of racism and neglect have been allowed to grow to explosive levels in our country. We may be shocked by what's taken place, but based on the direction this country's been going, we should not be surprised. Walt Hunter, the News Tonight.
The American Friends Service Committee is sponsoring a rally at Philadelphia City Hall 12 noon tomorrow, calling for an end to racial violence. And this note, part 2 of our report rating the MDs, originally scheduled to air tonight, will air tomorrow night.
Coming up, we'll check back in with David Rogers and see if he's going to call for a rainout this weekend.
And more people than ever before are finding they need government help just to keep food on the table. That story is still ahead.
The dream of a pure sports car has been kept alive by the people who race them. Those who believe in the simple thrill that only comes from driving a lightweight car with a lot of power. A car that car companies no longer made. But now, the new Mazda, the people who brought back the Roadster, announce the return of the pure sports car. The new RX-7.
Mazda, it just feels right.
What do you say to $18,000 plus for a Toyota 4Runner or Nissan Pathfinder? Right again.
Not when you can buy an Isuzu Rodeo for less than $16,000.
Isuzu Rodeo.
Motor Trend named it the best buy in the sports utility class 2 years in a row.
Isuzu Rodeo.
More power than ever.
More fun than ever.
And over $2,000 less than Toyota or Nissan.
Isuzu Rodeo.
See it.
Test drive it.
And buy it now at your Isuzu dealer.
Isuzu Rodeo.
Brings out the kid in you.
If you see news happening or capture news with your home video camera, call the KYW3 News Tip Line, 1-800-223-TIPS.
It's Clover Day at Strawbridge & Clothier. Save 25% on our entire stock of coordinating cotton tanks and panties at Clover Day at Strawbridge & Clothier.
The wrong muffler can really hurt your engine performance and fuel economy. The right muffler from Midas starts at $19.95. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
You and I are gonna knock off the toughest mountain in the world.
Two friends risking everything together.
Wow! Isn't that beautiful? Well, you think I'd take you to an ugly mountain?
In the only place on Earth where the adrenaline alone could kill you.
You cannot leave them to die!
K2, the ultimate high. Rated R. Starts Friday, May 1st at select theaters.
When I listen to Harvey, it puts me in a good mood.
Harvey in the morning, continuous soft rock all day. WMGK Magic 103.
In news about your money tonight, a record number of Americans turn to the government for help buying food with food stamps. The latest count shows 25.4 million people received the coupons. That's a record number, and they rose nearly every month this year. Some senators in Washington believe the numbers mean hunger is widespread across the country, especially among women, children, the homeless, and the elderly. Well, he's back because he's going to give us a hard time about something.
Because he's back.
David's here.
April was a bit of a write-off, wouldn't you say, weather-wise?
Yeah, we're going to get some of the figures tomorrow on the average temperatures. I'm sure they're well below normal. But, hey, tomorrow's the beginning of a new month, and we'll give it another shot, folks. It's going to look pretty good out there. Take a look at the highs and the lows for today. Below normal temperatures, but at least we did start the day out with an abundant amount of sunshine. Generally in the 60s across most parts of the Delaware Valley. A few cool spots. Poconos got up to 58, and Atlantic City only 52. Outside right now, 53 degrees officially at Philadelphia International Airport, 54 here at 5th and Market. Humidity locked in at 77%, light wind out of the south, and the barometer is currently rising. Let's start out with our radar picture. Very light precipitation continuing across the Delaware Valley, but it's now all progressively moving out into the Atlantic Ocean. And as we put our clouds into motion, you can see those clouds now starting to move in a northeasterly direction away from us. Weak area of high pressure is going to keep a lot of the cloudiness around tonight, but it should clear it out partially, at least for tomorrow, and set us up for a fair day. Let's take a look at the forecast in detail. For the first day of May, tonight we're going to see partly cloudy sky, drizzle, 44 to 48 degrees. Then for tomorrow, the first day of May, we're going to call it partly sunny and pleasant, 65 to 69 degrees. Now look into the future. Cause for some sprinkles on Saturday morning, but not a washout by no stretch of the imagination. 75 degrees again, some morning sprinkles on Sunday, but clearing 63. Monday and Tuesday looking pretty good, partly sunny and dry, 61 on Monday, and an afternoon high on Tuesday of 62. That's a look at your weather tonight. Jennifer, Bruce?
All right, still more ahead on the news tonight. A look at sports.
And can this man help carry the Eagles to the Super Bowl? Yuki with that story and all the playoff highlights a little later in the Sports Tonight.
When you and your family fly U.S. Air to Florida, you can expect memories that'll last far into the future. Unforgettable characters. Occasions that'll lift your spirits. A vacation that's a roaring success. U.S. Air to Universal Studios, Florida. We give you the star treatment from takeoff to landing and beyond.
That street light outside your house has been broken for months, and the city keeps giving you the runaround. Who do you call? Call for action. 238-4500 weekdays between 11 and 1. A service of KYW-TV3 and KYW 1060.
Hey, you. Yeah, you on the couch. What are you doing watching TV? Come on, get up. Nothing you're watching could possibly compare to getting a deal on the Nissan Maxima right now. Come on, you're missing an incredible price. And there's a special lease rate on Maxima you better catch now, because there won't be a rerun.
Less than 1 week left for special savings on Maxima. See your Nissan dealer now.
So, what are you watching that's better than this? You gotta be kidding.
My association with Pennzoil over the years is a very special one. It's a special one because of the product. Not being a very wealthy family, we had to take care of the equipment and take very good care of it so it lasted a long time. And that's why we used Pennzoil as much as we did. Pennzoil, performance, protection, quality.
Get your Pennzoil lube, oil, and filter service today at Willis Honda.
A Midnight Clear is a stunner. 4 stars. Original and unforgettable, with a devastating emotional impact. A terrific movie. One of the best war films ever made. An exceptional look at the human side of war.
Under fire!
And Siskel and Ebert give it 2 thumbs up. A Midnight Clear.
Rated R. Starts Friday.
Time now for the sports tonight. Here again is Yuki Washington.
You know, you talked about the Phils and the Dodgers. You think it's going to be a while before we see some baseball again in Dodger Stadium?
Probably so. They had a couple series coming up, and that's a tense situation out there, as we all know, and everybody's taking precautions, so I wouldn't doubt it right now. But once again, due to the unrest in and around the city of Los Angeles, tonight's Phillies-Dodgers game was postponed earlier today. The Phils flew out of town on a charter to their next series, destination San Francisco. They were delayed to their hotel. Last report, they had not arrived yet, but they should be there shortly due to a minor protest in the area, in the San Francisco area. Baseball now, though. A nice day for a ball game for the kids of all ages in the San Francisco area this afternoon. Kevin Bass against the Cardinals smashed a 2-run homer right here. John Burkett allowed 6 hits in 8 innings. Giants over the Cardinals, 9-3, the final score. The Mets were feeling pretty good tonight at Shea against Houston. That is until Rafael Ramirez ripped a rare home run over the wall in left field to tie the game at 3. Eddie Murray singled home the game winner, though, in the bottom of the inning. A double play in the 9th ended things. Save number 4 for John Franco. Mets win 4-3. On the scoreboard, the Mets once again win by 1. San Francisco 9-3 over St. Louis, and Montreal by San Diego by that very same score. Veteran pitcher Nolan Ryan is making his 92 debut tonight. The 45-year-old pitching phenom has been recovering from a strained left calf muscle and a sore Achilles tendon. Nolan was a little rusty tonight. He gave up 7 runs to the White Sox on 5 hits and 5 walks. It was the most runs he's given up since July the 25th, 1990. Chicago rolled big time. 12-1 was the final score. Oakland and the Tigers. Mickey Tettleton at the plate. Watch this massive shot. Off the end of the bat, back to the lights, a huge shot that leaves the ballpark. In the bottom of the 8th, Detroit leads Oakland 10-6 in a slugfest. On the board, once again, Chicago 12-1 over Texas. In the bottom of the 8th, Oakland leading Detroit 10-6. Also in the bottom of the 8th, Milwaukee 2-1 over Toronto. California 8-5 over Cleveland. The Eagles' first selection in this year's draft is in town. Saran Stacy of Alabama will join the rest of the draft picks and a few veterans for Eagles minicamp, which runs through Sunday. Stacy wore a big smile upon arrival at the airport today. The Alabama running back is ready to strut his stuff. Number 27 is coming off a big-time knee injury a couple of years ago. He ran for over 900 yards last season, but the injury taught him a lot on and off the field.
When you're up, it's like everybody's is with you. Everybody's in your boat. And then when you're down, you can hardly find a friend. And my knee injury, it's just been, it's been a lot of adversity, but at the same time, it's been a learning experience, something that I've keep with me for the rest of my life. And, I know what it takes. I know what it takes to stay on top. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication.
Dedication he hopes will earn him the right to sign his name on an Eagles contract. Game 4 tonight between the Cavaliers and the Nets. Cleveland could wrap up the NBA 5-game series with a win at the Meadowlands. Yeah, Bill Fitch and the Nets are going to be traveling into vacation land. Not without a fight, though. Sam Bowie throws up a prayer that gets answered. A bank shot from 3-point range. Cleveland, though, would win just their 2nd playoff series in their history. Cavaliers 98-89. They take it 3-1. Cleveland will play the Boston Celtics in the next round. Boston swept the Pacers in 3 games. Defending champion Chicago was awaiting the winner of the Knicks-Detroit series. New York leads that best-of-5 affair 2-1 with Game 4 in Michigan tomorrow. Game 7, Minnesota at Detroit in hockey. Brian Murray and Bob Gainey, this is it. The Wings in white, Sergei Fedorov scored in the 2nd to help the Wings take a 3-0 lead. Detroit became only the 9th team in NHL history to overcome a 3-1 deficit. Detroit beat the North Stars 5-2 in the 7th and deciding game. Detroit will open a best-of-7 series against the Blackhawks on Saturday night at Joe Louis Arena for the division title. And one last look in the sports tonight. Minor League Baseball just a little bit outside. This in retaliation to the batter hitting a 2-run triple earlier in the game. In Maryland, the Frederick Keys and the Salem Buccaneers with a little base brawl. One player was taken to the hospital for stitches around his left eye. No doubt fines and suspensions are forthcoming. Wow. They train him in the minor leagues even for that thing. Yeah. That's an ugly scene indeed.
Yeah, and unusual.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Well, unusual maybe for the minor leagues, but it happens.
If they don't make it in baseball, they can try hockey.
Hey, absolutely. Stay with us on the news tonight. When we return, a different look at the brutality and ugliness of the riots in Los Angeles.
Out of the darkest moments come heroes. That story next.
It began not with a clean sheet of paper,
but with a 75-year history. A history of building automobiles that make the most of the driver's skill. Because how you drive is as important as what you drive. BMW introduces a car that could improve both. The BMW 325 IS Coupe. The BMW 3 Series starts at $23,275.
You'll love it at Levitt's. Levitt's anniversary sale. You'll love it.
All Levitt showrooms nationwide are celebrating with the most exciting bargains you've ever seen. Only $297 buys this pine and white enamel twin-size bed with nightstand, or twin-size bed with pull-out trundle. Other matching pieces also sale price. Now at Levitt's Anniversary Sale.
Ben Franklin cheesesteaks, Mike Schmidt tasty cakes at the Shore Boathouse Road. Weekends in the Poconos. We've been through everything you've been through. We've grown up strong and healthy like you. We know what you want your cards to do. Core States Cards. You know us and we know you. Core States Cards. You know us and we know you.
Only a Pep Boys Automotive Supercenter could offer so much. Thousands of brand name parts and accessories in stock 7 days a week. Car or truck, import or domestic, Pep Boys will make sure you get the part you need when you need it. Pep Boys. Pick up your 48-page April catalog at the store today.
Our last word tonight is sanity. With all the craziness and cruelty we've seen over the past 24 hours, you have to wonder whether there's any sanity left until you hear stories like these. The story of a white Boston Globe reporter shot during the violence, smuggled to safety by a black family. Or the story of a black reporter who saved a Vietnamese woman from an angry mob. And last night, we showed you these disturbing scenes of a man who was pulled from his car and savagely beaten. His life was saved by a Los Angeles actor who played the unexpected role of a real-life hero.
With Rodney King, he's a human being. That was the problem. A human being was abused. This gentleman, this Asian gentleman tonight, Mr. Denny, they are human beings. It's a human issue. This is not a racial issue.
Certainly hopeful signs at a very troubling time.
And that's the news tonight. I'm Jennifer Ward. The news continues with Pat Cherokee and Dick Sheeran. They'll get your morning going with Newsday starting at 6. NBC News will have a special update on the riots in Los Angeles coming up next.
And we are out of time. You're up to date. Have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow.
Good night.
Closed captioning for the news tonight is brought to you by a grant from U.S. Healthcare.